You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katy.
Welcome back. We're barely here.
Hanging on by a thread. So,
oh, man.
I apologize in advance if I am extra snarky or just kind of bitchy.
That's okay. No one dies in today's story.
That's great.
No.
There's enough of dying people. I don't need any more.
I have a whiteboard outside of my office door that my coworker and I joke that I need one of those very like corny posters with a cat hanging on the branch that says hang in there.
Yeah.
So I drew one on the whiteboard outside of my office, just a cat hanging onto a branch, and it says hang in there. And then like as the year progressed, I was like, I gotta change that thing. And so I changed the cat to be holding on by one paw and looking very distressed and disheveled, and the branch is breaking off, and it says hanging on by a thread.
I like that that's the evolution.
No.
Also, I want to see a picture of it.
I'll try to remember to send you one. It's just like...
if you're able to make it to work tomorrow.
Oh, I know. Jarrett came in right before we started recording to tell me that he might have broken my car. And we only have one working car right now. So, it's just... and it's
something.
Sunday. It's Sunday night, of course. Mm-hmm. So, we're here.
Because you would rather have gone to go see that concert instead of hanging out with me on Thursday.
That's true.
I don't blame you.
No
Concerts
regrets.
are fun.
No regrets. Shout out to Shane Smith and the Saints, who I would die if they ever listened to my podcast. Our podcast.
Chopped liver here.
I did wear their shirt to our live show. Shane, if you're listening. I did a very rarely spontaneous thing, which was on a Thursday night, drove 3 hours to go see a concert, but it was so amazing. And like, I do realize how old I'm getting because A, the drive back was horrendous, and B, like we had to stop at a gas station for ibuprofen, because I was not making it home without some. And when we got there, so it was like standing room only, and then there was a section where there were like tables where you could sit, and technically our tickets were for the tables, but I was like, we're not going to sit at the tables. Like, I want to go stand like near the stage, which I have done several times at several concerts.
No, I've been too old for that for a long time.
Well,
actually, my last concert, it was all like lawn, and like we were all the way to the back. Also, I was like obnoxiously sunburnt and miserable sick, and I was like, I don't know why I'm tired. I don't know why I'm like sick and queasy. Also, I put on plenty of sunscreen. I should not be this crispy. Like, why do I feel miserable?
Yeah.
Demon spawn.
Oh, yeah.
That was days before I found out I was pregnant.
Oh, nice. Back when we still thought you had a parasite.
Yeah.
A different kind of parasite. Mm-hmm. I was doing good until like we got there when the opener was still playing, and I was good through that. And then while we were waiting in that little intermediate period, my hip started hurting. I think I hurt my hip during my showcase performance, and it like is connected somehow to my back. And I was standing there, and I was like,
yes, it is.
I was like, man, well, okay, whatever. I was like, man,
you should teach an anatomy course.
I was like, I can't stand here like this for that long. I was like trying to stretch it. I was like, I gotta sit. I was doing that old lady,
Welcome to my life for the last like 15 to 20 years. Like I've just been in pain longer than I haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, I had knee surgery when I was 18, sorry. Ooh. So, yeah. I'm always in pain, and yeah, my hips hurt a lot, and my low back, and also parts of my upper back and shoulder and my knees. And anyway, it's one of those, like, when we were at the block party, I was in excruciating pain.
Yeah.
And I was doing my best to put on a brave face, and it was one of those like, can I go walk around, because walking hurts, and it hurts my hip. But standing still is way worse.
Yeah.
And that hurts my hip and my low back.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna go hobble. Not even walk, hobble.
Yeah. I am hoping that that this is just like an injury that will hopefully go away.
Well, I mean, if it's new, then probably.
Yes. I'm just hoping, whatever. Yeah. Speaking of, this isn't in my announcements, but it just popped into my head since we're talking about injuries. Fun insight from my therapist, because I did go to therapy on Friday. We were talking about like triggers that I have for anxiety, and I was telling her that sometimes I get really discouraged because like I'll have one specific trigger and it'll trigger like an anxiety attack, and I'm like, I get frustrated that it still happens, and then even when I'm not in that attack, it's still kind of in the back of my head. And, I wish it would just go away. I wish I just, like, I wish it would go back to the way it was before I had that trigger. And she said, well, you have to think of it like an injury. She said it's kind of like, she didn't say brain injury, but that's how I was thinking of it. Like, I was like, it's like a brain injury. She didn't say that. She said it's like an emotional injury. Yeah.
But
she's like, you got to think of it like that. And you're healing it. And when it gets triggered, you're kind of re-injuring it. So it's going to hurt some more. And you're always going to kind of be cautious of it. And it just made me think about it a lot better. And I think it's making me a little less hard on myself.
Shout out to the people who actually know what their triggers are.
Yeah.
Because I had an anxiety attack on, I think, Friday. And it was the worst I've had in a while. Like, it's one of those, like, my anxiety is kind of like an underlying thing that more so presents in different ways.
Yeah.
But every now and then I have a little anxiety attack where I'm sitting there, I'm like, this one was like guilt and fear. It was like, I didn't do enough around the house, or I didn't do enough today, or like, there's something I'm supposed to be doing right now, but I'm not doing it. And I think it is like a callback to like, trauma from growing up of like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this homework assignment, and if I don't do it, I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
But like, I can't make myself do it. Or in this case, I don't know what is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's lots of stuff on my to-do list, but nothing is important, or like, my husband is not going to yell at me if I don't, go and, I don't know, wipe down the mat or something. And
deep clean the washing machine.
Yeah. I mean, that is on my list for sure. But like,
I finally did that, by the way. It's disgusting.
Oh God, they're filthy.
It was from necessity when we were fixing it.
So, but yeah, it was, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
And it was one of those, and then also I was like, wow, I'd really like to go take my Xanax for this to help me through this, except I have to go pick up Critter in a few hours, and I typically only take my Xanax like at night to help me sleep, and that's just every so often. And I cannot tell you the last time I actually took a Xanax during the day to help with an anxiety attack, because I always forget that I have Xanax until after.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I often forget that I have an as-needed medication as well.
And I'm like, wow, I actually remember that I have something that can help with this, and I'm too anxious to take it because I don't know how it's going to affect me.
Yeah.
Like, it's a super low dose. I probably would have been just fine, but I'm like, I don't want to be taking this and then driving and then putting my child in the car and then taking care of him. Like, so eventually I was able, it was past a little bit. And then once I picked him up, I felt better.
Yeah.
And then we went downtown.
Nice. Oh, here's to anxiety. Well, my first official announcement is technically for you, because it was a Patreon comment from Tim, and he said that his daughter, I wish I had the specific comment in front of me, he said his daughter handed him I think it was a coin, some kind of coin. I think he said a quarter. and it had Sally Ride on it. And he said the only reason that his daughter knows who Sally fucking Ride is because of you. I was like, oh, I love that so much. He said, I wish I could post a picture of it. I was like, I wish you could too. Awesome. Also, I love it. Sally Everyone should know who Sally fucking Ride is. Also, I feel like I should have given the appropriate shout out to The Last of Us, which I think is where I first heard someone say Sally fucking Ride, which that should rightfully just be inscribed with her name. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone watches that show. If you don't, watch it for Pedro Pascal. Or if you play the game, whatever. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, but for me, not for you.
Oh, damn it. Okay. What does it start with?
I don't know. Do you want the actress's name or the character?
The character. I know the actress's name.
Well, there's Ellie.
Ellie, that's who it is. Okay. Bella Ramsey plays her.
Yep.
That's what I was gonna say. Okay. Sorry. Ellie is like into space, and it takes place in the future, and she doesn't. Anyways, and
I'm gonna have to watch it. It's on Hulu.
Yes.
Like. Right.
Oh, is it?
It says here available on.
Oh,
it says
we watched
Hulu.
it on HBO.
Yeah, that's probably the only place it's available.
Oh. We still have our HBO. We keep saying we're going to get rid of it, and then we keep finding more things to watch on it. You should watch it. Yeah, you should. It's dark, but it's not. It's like regular dark. And honestly, just Pedro Pascal.
I can handle watching like dark and angsty things. Mm-hmm. It's reading and I can handle like dark, like mafia romances, whatever.
Yeah,
it's the real angsty shit that gets to me.
This just has a little bit of angst,
and it's reading versus watching. Like I can watch angst and be fine, but like. Oh, with, 27 Dresses.
Uh-huh.
You know how her sister's just, like, the biggest bitch in the whole world? Mm-hmm. That stuff that, like, when written in a book, eats at me. In a TV show or a movie or something, it irks me, and I'm like, oh, she's the worst, but it doesn't, like...
I feel like in writing it's more drawn out, probably.
Well, because, you really brought into the character's mindset and, like, really getting a taste for how this other character's actions really make this character feel. Whereas watching it, it's, you're still interpreting.
Yeah.
Not getting the first person view.
Yeah. Anyway. Sorry. Shout out to Tim. Shout out to Tim's daughter. Shout out to
Sally fucking Ride.
Sally fucking Ride. Shout out to Ellie and Bella Ramsey. Our second shout out is to Amanda, our listener, who sent us a very sweet message.
About to be a mama.
So it was technically a shout out to Amanda and her baby, which I didn't put.
Your future chaos demon.
I didn't put the name in here because I didn't know. I'm trying to,
I'm going to say middle name-wise.
Oh, okay.
Elizabeth is a fabulous middle name.
Is that your middle name?
It was.
Oh, it was. I started coming up with middle names, and then Jarek made me very self-conscious about how the first name might run into the middle name and make it sound like a phrase. And so then I got self-conscious about it. Anyways, shout out to Amanda and her fucking awesome baby.
You're gonna be great.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what they're doing. The fact that you care and you're concerned about doing it right or doing it well, you got this.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fine.
Yeah. Also, I'm just so happy that you're still listening and that we can offer anything to you, even if it's just distraction.
Send us baby pictures when she gets here.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see her. And then my last one is really just a shout out to one of my sources, which is the Skeptoid podcast. I've never listened, but they have transcripts of their podcasts, and this specific episode was my jumping off point for my notes for this specific episode. So, all right, you ready?
Bring it.
Okay. So,
wait, what's our rating?
Oh, I would say this is PG.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Tiny Tim?
Yeah. So, in the late 1950s, while the United States and the Soviet Union were publicly vying to be the first to leave the Earth's atmosphere and reach outer space, another race of sorts between the two countries was brewing in the opposite direction. The race
To go to the Earth's core?
to the center of the Earth.
Nice. That's a book. Journey to the Center of the Earth, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Is it? See, if we had a producer, good grief. We're having to work overtime here. Yeah. We had to set up our own recorded. I will go ahead and say there is a...
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
There's a what looks like a poorly rated sci-fi movie based on the story that I'm about to tell you. And I do fully intend on watching it and paying $2 to rent it on Amazon Prime.
It is a book by
Okay.
Jules Verne. I knew it. But because it's such like an old classic and should be super well known, I didn't want to say it and be wrong. Sure. So I'm dumb. We need to hire a producer ASAP.
Or at least a fact checker. So both countries were embarking on separate projects to drill deep into the Earth's surface, possibly all the way through the outermost layer, the crust, to the mantle. So quick geography lesson. Geology. Damn. Geography is
countries, places.
Okay, geology. Thank you.
Geology is rocks.
Geology is rocks. Okay.
Even actually, it's more of like an earth science than straight up.
This is true, because I won't be discussing rock types. All right, so the outermost layer of the Earth is...
the crust.
Yep.
Then there's the mantle.
Specifically the upper mantle.
Yep.
And then...
the lower mantle.
Yep.
And then there's the outer core and the inner core.
Correct.
The outer... is actually solid.
Yes.
The outer core is...
molten.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, liquid, but it's not liquid, because that's not accurate. It's gelatinous. It's lava.
Very hot, though. Yeah. And the crust is anywhere from 4.8 to 69 kilometers. Kilometers thick. There you go. Which is 3 to 43 miles, which is not as funny.
No, it's not.
The United States kicked off Project Mohole.
No.
I don't know why they didn't call it Mole Hole. It's Mohole. They kicked off this project in 1958 by drilling into the Pacific Ocean floor off the coast of Mexico. You want to know how far we got?
How far?
Do you want meters, feet, or miles?
I think feet is an option. Probably not more than a mile.
I'm going to tell you, it's not very impressive on our end. 183 meters, which is 600 feet, which is 0.11 miles.
No, I figured if you were offering it in feet, then I'm like, didn't make it a mile.
Yeah, and this was before funding was pulled in 1966.
What was the purpose? Like, what was the wow factor of this that got it funded in the first place?
So glad you asked that question.
Give me the tagline.
I think it was...
the mohole.
They were mostly like, oh, well, we got to learn about rocks and Earth. Mm-hmm. I think the thought was they could learn more about how the Earth was formed.
People just wanted to drill to China.
But they also did specifically say, like, that the United States and the Soviet Union were still, like, competing, and they wanted to be, like...
So it was just it's just another dick measuring contest.
Yeah, they wanted to have the biggest hole.
No, they wanted to see who could drill.
Yeah,
they wanted bigger hole.
They wanted...
Who had the bigger drill?
Who had the bigger drill? Specifically, the deepest hole. I probably should. Maybe I should.
This is making me think of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Well, you just said hole way too much, and that's coming from Boyle.
I wonder if I should have made this PG-13.
Yeah, probably. Because we're basically 13-year-old boys.
69 kilometers. I'm gonna take a little drink. Okay. All right. So meanwhile, the Soviet Union began drilling in Siberia. And they got much further.
Well, because they started on land, right? Or did they...
Yeah, they started on land.
So, I mean, by starting at the ocean, yeah, that's less crust that you have to drill through. Mm-hmm. But it's also a lot harder.
Yeah.
To, keep up with, everything of drill-wise.
Yeah.
When it's underwater. I mean, let's go back to your delightful episode about how the ocean is trying to kill you. The ocean is trying to kill you. The unfortunate incidents that happened with some divers around a rig and drilling thing.
Oh, don't worry. I have some information about a drilling rig later. I understand why we need them. I understand the concept of drilling for oil and what oil rigs are and why, but
she just really hates the ocean.
I do, and I saw the pictures. Okay. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union had gotten nearly 14.5 kilometers, which is almost 9 miles deep. And they were experiencing temperatures of upwards of 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's probably really nice being up there in Siberia.
I know. So
just lean over the hole. Maybe some of that heat will radiate up.
So then one day, their drills broke through, not into the solid mantle that they were expecting, but into what appeared to be a cavity. And so naturally they stopped their drilling and they lowered down, because they are obviously measuring all of this stuff, which is how they knew what the temperatures were. Mm-hmm. So they measured down, they stopped drilling, they put their equipment in there. The first thing that registered was that the temperature had jumped hugely. Mm-hmm. It was measuring approximately 2,000 degrees now. And then their equipment began to pick up sound. So before their equipment was damaged beyond repair from the unexpected extreme heat, they managed to record 17 seconds of audio, which I will play for you now. That was more or less it for 17 seconds.
You know what that sounds like to me?
What does it sound like to you?
It sounds like somebody put a microphone and some other metal things in a furnace, and those objects being superheated, making a whole lot of noise.
Oh, okay. That's what it sounds like to you. What it sounded like to them was the screams of thousands of people.
Yeah. But also, it sounds like metal.
Yeah,
superheated.
It's not the best quality audio.
Sure, yeah, no, it sounds like, yeah, sure, I can imagine that sounds like people screaming.
Yeah.
But realistically,
it does.
It sounds like metal being superheated.
Yeah.
I will die on this hill.
That's fine. So, the story of
scientists, come back me up.
The story of this audio was first picked up in 1989 by a network called TBN, which ran an article titled, quote, "Scientists Discover Hell." And then several smaller networks and publications picked it up from there. Obviously, evangelicals pointed to this as proof of the existence of hell and a reason for people to repent of their sins. This hole was dubbed
the hell hole.
That would have been much more clever. It was dubbed the well to hell. Hell hole would have fit.
Yeah, no, Joss Whedon had it right on hell hole. Actually, no, hell mouth. My bad, not hell hole.
Hell hole. I think hell hole fits.
Hell hole fits.
Well to hell.
Yeah. Whereas, Joss Whedon in the Buffyverse was hell mouth. And the well to hell. Everyone had just missed it. It's just the hellhole.
Yeah. So, as the internet rose, because 89 is when the story first was published.
89 was when the birth of many wonderful things and gifts to this earth. I mean, I might have happened to be born in 1989.
Who knows?
So if you're going to infer that I'm also a gift to our world, then go for it. But
you were born the same year that the well to hell came into our lives.
Oh, yeah. No, maybe they burst through in that cavity, and I'm
You burst out of the cavity.
Yeah, my soul
escaped out of there, and
and that's why I'm a demon,
and that's why you birthed a demon spawn.
Another
This actually makes a lot
chaos
of sense.
demon. So if he's a chaos demon, I wonder what I am. What kind of demon am I?
You're a distraction demon,
Possibly.
I don't know.
Tangent demon.
Tangent demon. We should start calling our our tangents and rabbit holes like something that has to do with like
Little demon dances.
Or I'm thinking like really deep holes to hell or something. I don't know. We'll get there. We'll workshop it.
You know what? The highway to hell was packed. I'm just gonna take the hole.
Take the hole. It's much faster.
Katy, go down the hole.
Okay, so then the internet happens, and this story dutifully makes its rounds on the internet. And then in 2002, a listener of a radio show called Coast to Coast AM wrote into the show, and I'm just going to read you what they wrote. Okay.
People scare me.
I just recently began listening to your radio show, and I could not believe it when you talked about the sounds from hell tonight. My uncle had told me this story a couple years ago, and I didn't believe him, like one of your listeners who discounted the story as nothing more than just a religious newspaper fabricated account. The story about the digging, the hearing the sounds from hell, is very real. It did occur in Siberia. My uncle collected videos on the paranormal and supernatural. He passed away fairly recently. He let me listen to one of the audio tapes that he had on the sounds from hell in Siberia, and I copied it. He received his copy from a friend who worked at the BBC. Attached is that sound from my uncle's tape. And just like that, the audio of the souls of the damned was on the internet. Jeez. Where impressionable little 12-year-olds like myself heard it and experienced more religious trauma. Because I do remember hearing this story, and I'm pretty sure I heard that audio when I was maybe not 12, but I'm pretty sure I heard that on the internet at some point, probably when I was too young to be really surfing the internet by myself. And
Sheldon and I had a chat about that last night, actually.
About your religious trauma or about surfing
the
internet?
About surfing the internet.
Discussed our religious trauma this weekend.
My religious trauma wasn't that bad, actually. Surprisingly.
I know, which is weird to me.
Yeah, because freaking Catholic school on top of going to church. But I think it was because I went to, Methodist church that by going to the Catholic school, I was like, you guys are way overboard.
Yeah.
I didn't buy into the Catholicism.
Yeah.
And therefore, any religious trauma I had was fairly mellow and mild. And also just part of being neurodivergent. I already felt like an outsider. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to church and I'm going to pretend like I believe all this and fit in. I'd look around and be like, I don't think I get it. I'm just going to pretend because, I don't want to be the odd man out. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, searching the internet. We saw a Dick's Sporting Goods commercial, and Shelton made the comment about, I remember when I learned the difference that, Dicks.com is not the same as Dick'sSportingGoods.com. He's like, they must have spent a lot of money to buy out that so that it is Dicks.com now. I was like, oh yeah, when I was young and just being introduced to, really computers and the internet, I was probably 7 or 8. My mom and dad, or maybe it was my mom, I don't know, found a website. It was Girls Life or something like that. And it was all like, like
man.
early blogs about, it was all directed for preteen and teen girls and whatnot. And I tried to go back and find it. And I was like, it's just girls.com. It was not girls.com.
No. It's just girls.com.
It's not girls.com.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But, I was definitely, like, younger than 10.
Yeah.
When I discovered what the internet is actually for.
Yeah. It's rough. Yeah. Well, I can almost guarantee I either heard this story or heard something like it. Mm-hmm. And I was one of those kids raised very conservative Baptist that very much believed in hell and was very much scared of going there. And also very much did not believe that any time that I, like, prayed for salvation, that I didn't believe that it took any of the times that I prayed. So, like, I never thought that I was always, like, in doubt. And so, talk of hell always really freaked me out. So, something like this on the internet, I would have been praying again. I'd been like, oof, gotta pray again, because probably the last 8 times I did, it didn't take. Okay, so, anyways.
As a young kid, I probably would have not believed that it was hell, but I would have really enjoyed entertaining in my mind, like, oh, what if they did find, like, a cavern and these are, like, screams of, like, I definitely would have not believed it, but believed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and see,
I would have entertained it, I guess.
I feel like it's
but
so
not, like,
interesting.
really, like, taken it to heart like you would have, or like you did.
And I feel like it's so interesting that we grew up to be the people that we did, because I found this story last week and was like, oh, this is going to be the podcast story, because I found an element of it that is true that I still find terrifying, which is what I'm going to tell you about now. Okay.
Bring it on.
So obviously, there were no screams. That audio, spoiler alert, is not real. That audio did not happen. Which, this is where I have a huge thank you to Skeptoid, because that transcript really put together, like, this next part, which, wow, when we talk about bad sourcing, here we go.
Are you going to explain what that sound is?
Yes, yes, we will get to that.
Because I'm like...
Okay. But first, how we got the story, because I will tell you the true part about it. So, the network that first ran the story in 1989, TBN, that stands for Trinity Broadcasting Network, which, if you can't tell from that name, very Christian network, which is very biased reporting.
No, they would never.
So, their source for the story was a Finnish newspaper that an evangelical minister in Texas had come across and sent to them. So they got the story from a Finnish newspaper. That newspaper turned out to be a small evangelical Lutheran magazine, not a newspaper. And the source that magazine got the story from, they said that the story had been written by a staff member from memory after said staff member read about it in another Finnish newspaper. The second Finnish newspaper had gotten the story from a contributor who had read about it in a paranormal newsletter. The paranormal newsletter had gotten the story from a reader who said that he saw it in, quote, a California newsletter that was published by a Jewish Christians called Jewels of Jericho. And no one could really track down Jewels of Jericho to figure out if they were real. So, like,
the biggest he said, she said pile of garbage.
I know! So, like, it went from Jewels of Jericho to one Finnish newspaper to a second Finnish newspaper to this TBN thing. And also one of the stories was written from memory.
Yeah.
So, like...
not embellished at all.
No. And, like... also completely made up, as we will get to. The audio recording, it's unclear, like, where it originated, but what the general consensus is about what the sounds that you're hearing is, those are apparently a doctored audio clip from the 1972 movie Barren Blood. So a doctored clip of that put on a loop.
I still say I've heard things that they get superheated. I mean, like when they drop like superheated iron balls or molten aluminum or whatever on things that have water or any kind of, moisture content to it, that heat immediately boils the liquid content and it, squeals out like steam and it sounds like screaming.
Yeah. I love the idea that
that's what I was picturing when I heard that. I was like, oh, well, if we're putting metal or, metallic equipment in a super hot air, like superheating this metal,
you're just hearing the sounds of like the equipment.
And honestly, it sounds like a blowtorch, like
yeah,
or being in a furnace. They put something in there that's why I was like, this sounds like you're presenting me with this these air quotes facts about lowering equipment in there and recording audio, which. Why would they want to get audio of a hole? That's one thing that I've been wanting to know since you first said it, but I forgot to ask that. Like, of any, like, if they're in, like, why is audio the thing? But I guess why not?
Would not make any sense, yeah.
I mean, I guess they had the technology to do audio better than they could do, like, video or something. So
yeah, which would make way more sense. Like, if you have a 9-foot deep hole and you break into a fucking cavity, put a camera down there. 9 mile. 9 mile. Yeah, sorry.
The other issue is lots of cable.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't have a long enough cable.
Yeah, that's true. But you bring up a good point, which is that, like, what this article, quote unquote article, doesn't really think about is that, like, scientists would not jump to the conclusion of, oh, these are screams that we're hearing. They would think more like you and think, what's the most logical explanation for what we're hearing? Yeah. But yeah, a scientist, I think, would try to find the most logical explanation for those sounds and not think...
Yeah. And that's not to say that there aren't scientists out there who are also religious. Like,
right.
You can do both.
Right.
It's not super common.
Right.
But it's not impossible, and there's nothing wrong with having, beliefs in a higher power while also trying to understand the world around us. Like, you can do both.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, even the people who do have religious beliefs, I mean, they might be like, oh, shit, we just opened a portal to hell. And, like, have some fun with that.
Yeah, figuratively.
And then be like, okay, well, what's the most reasonable explanation for this?
Yeah. There were versions of the story which I left out these parts because I was trying to make it seem like as believable as possible when I was telling it. But some versions of it were like when they heard the sounds, several of the scientists like fled, like quit the job immediately and fled and like ran to church and repented and then there was one version that like immediately after it happened, like a plume of smoke came up from the hole in the shape of a demon or something really dramatic.
See, you had me with plume of smoke. I'm like, that's potentially feasible. They if they crushed through, broke into a cavity of some sort, like, that could potentially, again, that's 9 miles that it has to travel.
Yeah. Very deep.
But then the whole shape of a demon thing lost me.
Yeah. Okay, so there was actually a Russian project that ran alongside the U.S. In an attempt to reach the Earth's mantle. But it was called the Kola Super Deep Borehole.
Yeah, that's a super deep, boring title.
I know. And it took place not in Siberia, but in the Kola Peninsula, which is near the Russian-Norwegian border, which the Skeptoid article, I think, pointed out was like about as far away from Siberia as you can get and still be in Russia. It started May 24th of 1970, and it ended August of 1994 due to problems with the drill, or drilling stopped in that time. And it reached an official depth of 12,262 meters, which is 7.619 miles deep.
So the mouth to hell, not even a real hole.
Not even a real hole. But the borehole is what it was kind of based on.
Further than the mole hole.
Yeah, much further, yes. And the super deep borehole is the deepest human-made hole on Earth, which I put another title for it because that is just an upsetting title, I feel. Also known as the lowest point underground ever reached by humans. Which, creepy. Also, if you want to go on a good Wikipedia dive.
Mohole or borehole?
Borehole. That's what I was thinking we could call them, boreholes. But I hadn't gotten to the borehole yet, and I didn't want to give away my...
Gotcha.
You know. There's a Wikipedia page on, like, Earth Extremes or something. Mm-hmm. And if you look up the Kola...
Super deep
borehole, it'll give you, like, a link for, like, Earth Extremes or whatever. And it's got, like, the deepest point ever reached by humans, the highest point ever reached by humans, the deepest... It's got, like, the deepest point underground accessible by humans, the deepest point underwater accessible, like, all of the... And then it's got, like, the most extreme temperatures. I looked through all of it. I wasted a lot of time on it.
I would enjoy that very much, actually.
It's very interesting. So, the super deep borehole is very interesting. They did discover microscopic plankton fossils at about 4 miles depth, which...
Cool.
I
mean, yeah, no, it's like a cross section of Earth's history.
Yeah.
Being able to get through there and and I'm sure that's one way that we've actually learned a lot about Earth's, like our temperature changes, like, the Ice Age and throughout our geologic timescale.
Yeah. They also, well, I assume this is along with the plankton fossils, they discovered, quote, biological activity in rocks more than 2 billion years old, which I did not realize that there was life on Earth that long ago.
And that's why I think it's stupid for people to be like, there's no way that aliens exist.
Yeah.
And, it's absolute arrogance to believe that there's not life on other planets, in other galaxies, in other solar systems.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, life here today, like if you look up extremophiles, there are certain organisms that live like inside of volcanoes or in the iciest, coldest things imaginable. And they're called extremophiles. Life is not humans. Life is everything.
Life finds a way.
That's right. It does. Clever girl.
Friends of the show. Not really. I feel like we can say that. We don't have any friends of the show. We can just make them up. Right?
What do you mean, friends of the show?
Like Jeff Goldblum and whoever said clever girl.
British guy.
Yeah, him. All dinosaurs. Friends of the show.
Yeah. Forget the actors. The dinosaurs. They are the friends of the show.
Except Jeff Goldblum. He is a friend of the show.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Love him. Also, the evidence of life 2 billion years ago, that's why it's important to dig the deepest hole in the world. I feel like when they found that, the scientists were like, this justifies our funding to dig this super deep hole. Like, we found fossils. That's why we did it. That's the whole reason we did it. We learned something.
Well, it's funny. I answered my own question. I wasn't thinking too deeply about it, I guess, when I asked, like, what was the tagline? And then I was like, oh, that gives you a really interesting snapshot of Earth's geologic history about, like, what were the climate, situation like? What was going on here at this time? Duh. I answered my own damn question.
You weren't thinking too deeply.
That's right, I wasn't. I've got a lot going on this week.
That's okay.
I hope you all can cut me some slack. I've had a very long weekend. I've got some family stuff going on. My mind is in a lot of places.
It's okay. It's okay.
Apparently it's not down a 7-mile deep hole.
Return to the borehole. It's okay. So at its deepest, the borehole measured temperatures as high as 356 degrees Fahrenheit which was much higher than they were expecting, but nowhere close to the 1,000 degrees.
Yeah. See, that's one of those things that it's like, I have very little concept of
Temperature?
Temperature, weights. Like, you know, my dad, he's a engineer, and he designs the offshore oil platforms that do all the drilling.
Oh, great.
And so he plays around with like tens of hundreds of tons like it's nothing. Whereas I can't fully like visualize, like I have no real concept of even what 1 ton is.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, it's just one of those, it's an abstract thing.
Yeah.
That when someone's like, oh, you know, it's like 14 tons. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like,
Sure.
I don't question it. So, when you're talking, you know, upwards of, you know, 200-300 degrees Fahrenheit, or, you know, thousands are gonna, like, yeah, sure, like, I have zero concept. I cannot visualize or conceptualize what that's actually like.
Yeah.
So, anything above, like, 150 degrees or whatever, it's all the same. Like, 150 degrees is the same as 300 degrees is the same as 1,000 degrees in my mind.
I think it's like once it's past the point of like causing you deathly harm or mortal harm, like a ton, it's like, okay, well, 1 ton of something could crush my bone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's 14 tons, that's also going to crush my bone. Doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, 200 degrees of something will probably burn my skin off. I don't know. I have no idea if that's true or not.
It's, again, hard to conceptualize.
1,000 degrees is also going to burn my skin off. It probably will hurt the same amount.
Right?
So, like, I get what you're saying.
So, yeah, no, it's one of those things. It's like, it's such a, not abstract because it's a solid number, but it's just one of those things that is just so far out of my my realm of like true understanding that I'm just like, I don't even question it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's 1,000 degrees. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
Sure.
I know that it gets hot down there.
You're like, I'm sure it is.
It's weird. It gets cool and then it gets hot.
Yeah.
You go underground, it gets cool and then it gets hot.
Yeah.
I don't know how hot it gets.
300.
I know
at least 365 degrees.
I mean, you get to a point where it's molten magma.
Yes.
Like, it's liquid rock.
Yes.
That's how hot it is
Yes.
at one point. The further down you go. So, like, sure. 1,000 degrees. Sounds reasonable to me.
And they did say that at these depths that, like, the rock was acting more like plastic than rock. And, like...
That would be very interesting.
Yeah. And, like, truly, they had to stop because, like, their drills could not keep up with, like, the temperatures and, like, the way things were handling.
They're not designed for those conditions.
Exactly. The project was ultimately terminated in 1995 due to lack of funds, because I guess their cool fossils were not enough. And then the company was officially liquidated in 2008, and then the site was just abandoned. They did weld the borehole shut. Thank goodness. And it is only 9 inches in diameter. However...
So nobody's falling through it.
No, but you can look at I only gave you one page of your dossier. But, like, the structure that was built up around it has just, like, decayed or fallen away. So you can just, like, walk up to that thing and know that underneath that welded shut lid is just 9 miles of nothing. Which, to me, is horrifying. And, like, I get that it doesn't just go straight down. But, like, still, it's not... Like, you shouldn't be able to just wander up to that. Surely there should be, like, a small building over it.
Don't call me Shirley.
I'll call you whatever I want to. And then I provided a fun little infograph to show you...
I like this.
I know, right?
This is very fun.
Puts it in perspective. It's deeper than the Mariana Trench. That's all I know. It's deeper than...
The deepest active mine is 3.9 kilometers.
There you go.
And this is like 4 times as deep.
And then don't you love it just gives you like the size of the asteroid that... Or the meteor... Or whatever. Asteroid. Is it that killed the dinosaurs? Or that's going to kill us in the future? I don't know.
The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. 10 kilometers wide.
Or that will kill us. Either. Who knows? In the early 90s, this is just some fun facts. In the early 90s, the German Continental Deep Drilling Program drilled a borehole that was 6 miles deep in Bavaria, and they hit seismic plates, which seems dangerous. I know it's not, but it seems dangerous. I don't feel like we should be messing around with seismic plates. They recorded temperatures as high as 600 degrees Fahrenheit around the seismic plates. Again, don't feel like we should be drilling near those. I understand that it's fine, but it seems like one of those things that seems very delicate in my brain. Okay. And then BP's Deep Horizon oil rig.
Familiar with that one.
Yep. It drilled the deepest offshore hole off the Gulf of Mexico in the Tiber oil field with a depth of 10,683 meters, which is just over 6.5 miles.
Meanwhile, there is a platform called Cinnamon.
Ooh, what's that?
I think Shell owns this one. The Cinnamon is, or at least it was at one time, the deepest freestanding tripod.
What does that mean?
It's not anchored, or no, it's anchored to the ground. Instead of like solid legs, it's more movable. So that's freestanding. Dad's gonna kick my butt for not being able to more accurately describe this. It's like literally Guinness Book of World Records of engineering, and my dad was on that project.
That sounds
He's still got a really
terrifying.
cute, like computer bag because all the engineers on the project got some, cool swag.
Yeah.
And he's got this computer bag, and there's a little logo of somebody holding like a cinnamon bun, like Project Cinnamon. It's on a roll.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. I was like, oh, way to go, marketing team.
The cuteness does not take away from its terrifying nature.
Yeah, but I just remember, because this is also years ago. This was when I was like, anywhere from 10 to like 15.
Okay.
So cut me some slack, Dad. I remember the cinnamon on a roll was the tagline. 98% sure it's Shell.
Okay.
And it was the deepest freestanding tripod.
Nice. I'll look it up. We'll look it up.
Yeah.
Later. That sounds terrifying to me.
So shout out to my dad on that.
Well, I'm glad he didn't work on a BP one because another fun fact, speaking of hell, Deepwater famously, not to give them too much credit for having the deepest offshore hole, because they famously experienced an explosion that caused a catastrophic oil spill in 2010 that had devastating effects on surrounding marine life, caused them a hell, some would say. Had effects such as up to 20% of all oceanic juvenile Kemp's Ridley sea turtles present during the spill died. It caused a 50% decline in the population of bottlenose dolphins, and it caused the slow death of deepwater coral within 7 miles of the site. Among other things, BP. Get your shit together. Anyway, you got the part about my shaming of BP for their oil spill.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
No, the company that my dad worked for has actually never, I think he said they've never even bid on a BP project because of their history, like long-standing history of like bypassing security or safety checks or whatever.
Yeah.
And like anyone who listens who works for BP, like, I mean, this is like second or third hand info at this point. Like,
sorry,
I'm not trying to drag y'all through the mud. I don't know. I've never worked on a project for BP before.
Unless you're a BP CEO, in which case you can stop listening. We will stand to lose your listenership if you were the CEO of BP. Anyone else,
go take your billions of dollars and use them as rags to clean the oil off of baby ducks. Don't forget the Dawn.
Also become a patron.
We should make a new Patreon level, like regular listeners, $5, billionaire CEOs.
Billionaire CEOs.
$10,000 a month. That's still nothing.
I know. $10,000 a month.
That's the billionaire level of $5 a month.
CEOs. $10,000 a month. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, obviously I couldn't leave you with just what I find to be a super terrifying 7 mile deep hole. Which, by the way, I will be watching.
I'm less, like, freaked. I mean, I was never freaked out about it. But now knowing that it's 9 inches in diameter.
Your foot can go through that.
But only my foot and not the rest of me.
Your leg. Your leg could probably get through there.
Still not the rest of me. Also, have you seen my thighs lately? My thighs can't get through my jeans.
The hole that baby Jessica fell into was only 10 inches wide, I think.
Baby.
You have a baby.
Grown adult.
You have a baby.
He's not a baby. He's a big boy.
He could fall into...
No, he's pretty big boy, honestly.
He's pretty chunky. But
his head will definitely... falling all
just saying, it's so terrifying.
It was scarier to me when I thought there was just this big open hole that someone could just go bloop through.
Yeah. Well...
Now it's something that, even if it's not sealed, it's something someone can trip on and maybe sprain their ankle.
Or a baby could fall into. Or a small dog. Or a cat. Or a squirrel. Okay, this is why we have the measuring tape out.
That's 9 inches, dear.
Yeah. I bet your leg could fit through there. I think my leg could fit through there.
I would get caught mid-thigh. I would probably get caught right around there.
Still.
So yeah, I'd probably get my whole leg up to the crotch.
Get stuff
through there. Not stuck. Just dangling and then just pull it right back out.
Okay. I feel like you're not imagining how hard it would be to pull your whole leg out of it. Also, can you just imagine having your leg in there and not knowing what's down there?
Yes, the screaming souls of
the damned.
Oh,
gross.
Well, you know what? Now I'm really bummed to find out that the hellhole. I'm sorry,
the well
to hell. Not as clever as hellhole. I'm disappointed to find out that doesn't actually exist because now I have no explanation for why I am the way I am. Yeah, for where you came from.
Well, the movie that I'm gonna watch is called 9 Miles Deep, or 9 Miles Down, or 9 Miles Under. I forget. It's called 9 Miles something.
Either way, it just sounds like a bad porn.
Oh, I hope it's called 9 Miles Deep. That'd be hilarious.
It's just, I mean, basically, it's calling back. It. It's calling back to all of the PG-13 jokes that we were doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, kids, do not Google that. I do know that it is on Amazon Prime. You can rent it for like $2. This is what I was gonna do with my Thursday night until I
Or if you want tickets. Something gooder,
hold on.
It has Brendan Fraser just Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah, hold on.
Because Brendan Fraser, I love him.
On. Let me see. I'm just gonna look up 9 Miles and hopefully it comes up. 9 Miles. 9 Miles Down. Whew. It's a 2009 movie. It got like a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm sure it's terrible. But it's literally based on this. The trailer that I watched, the borehole that they were looking at was like big. And the guy lost his hat in there. He was like looking in there because it was just open and his hat fell in there.
See, that's the part that would freak me out, just knowing that there's this giant ass hole.
And they were being really irresponsible too. Also,
the fact that you would die of like heat.
Yeah.
Before you even hit the bottom.
This guy also, they were treating him like he was an engineer, but he was definitely wearing a uniform that said security. So I'm not really sure. The plot of this is unclear. I'll report back next week and let you know.
Sounds good.
Anyways, lest I let you think that there's not a real place that you came from, I have some other options for you.
Some other hellholes that I could have been birthed from?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay. First option.
How dare I talk about my mother that way?
First option, the Gates of Hell.
Mm-hmm.
In 1971.
Didn't we decide that was a Walmart?
What?
Have you seen that image?
Any Walmart?
No, so it was on Tumblr. This was years ago. This is like a supernatural Tumblr. And they had like, I forget what they mapped out, but like, I don't remember if it was cemeteries or what, but it made a pentagram, and at the center of this pentagram was a Walmart. And they're like, oh, we found the gate to hell. That is Walmart.
So much sense. Yeah. I believe it.
Yep.
Well, this specific one is in Turkmenistan.
Okay.
So in 1971, the Soviets were at it again. Soviet geologists began drilling in the Karakum Desert in central Turkmenistan in search of oil. And unfortunately, where they were drilling was actually on top of a, quote, cavernous pocket of natural gas, which collapsed while they were drilling. And it also triggered more collapses of the, I lied when I said I wasn't going to talk about rock type, sedimentary rock. Mm-hmm. So it just created a bunch of open craters in the area. Allegedly, no one was hurt, but all of their equipment got, like, swallowed up by the earth. Terrifying. And they have a bunch of craters now. The largest crater was 230 feet across and 65 feet deep. And they were all just letting a whole bunch of natural gas, specifically methane, just, you know, come out.
The earth was farting.
Yes, the earth was just farting into the world. The gas was actually causing a lot of animals in the area to die.
Yeah.
And so the scientists were like...
And also creating some issues for ozone.
Yeah. So the scientists were like, oh, we should probably do something about this problem that we caused.
It sounds pretty par for the course.
So they're like, oh, we'll just light it on fire and let the gases burn out. So they did that 52 years ago, and it's still burning. The locals have nicknamed it the Gates to Hell, or the Gates of Hell. And apparently from time to time, thousands of spiders will just go over the sides of the pit to their deaths because they were lured there by the light of the fire. But it's just a giant 230-foot crater that's on fire, that's been on fire for more than 50 years because it's just constantly emitting gas. Unless you think these eternal natural fires are not common, let me tell you. In Laurel Run, Pennsylvania, in December of 1915...
I think I know this one.
A miner accidentally left a carbide lamp burning in the red ash coal mine overnight. And he left it hanging on like a wooden beam. And it caught on fire. And it caught the whole mine on fire. And despite several efforts to close off the mine and cut off the fire's air supply, the fire continues to burn today, 108 years later. It just, like, the earth is just constantly
the earth is gassy.
Farting away, just supplying fires with constant fuel. In Centralia, Pennsylvania, or Centralia, I am not sure if I'm saying it right, which is a really small town. I think it's only had like 1,000 residents. In 1962, officials in this mining town allegedly decided that they needed to, quote, clean up their landfill, which happened to either be next to or directly on top of an open pit mine. And they decided the best way to clean up the landfill was by burning all of the trash in it.
Obvi.
And so they lit their trash on fire, and it ignited a coal vein.
This is the one that I've heard of.
Yes.
I knew it was in Pennsylvania.
There's a lot of mines up there. Mm-hmm. So from there, the fire steadily grew underground, venting hot, toxic gases into the town. By 1984, almost all of the residents had been forcibly evacuated / evicted from their homes due to the dangers of the gases. And as of 2020, only 5 residents remain in Centralia. And I think they had to basically go to court to win the right to stay there. And the ruling was fine, you can live out the rest of your life here, but when you die, the town is done. No one else can come here. Your land goes to the state or whatever. And the fire just continues to burn underground to this day because of a trash fire. Just because of trash fire. You know.
Dumpster fire.
Dumpster fire. It's a true dumpster fire. In Guanxiling, Taiwan, the hot springs eternal flame, these are less sad ones, by the way, is a small fire near one of Guanxiling's hot springs, and it's said to have been caused by an earthquake over 300 years ago that caused a fissure in the rocks, and then the fissure, I don't have to explain how these started, right? Like the fissure let gas escape, the gas caught on fire, and the fire just keeps going. And if you look it up, it's just like this little hot spring, and then there's just like, it looks like a little waterfall of fire that's just
pretty
hanging out, just constantly going.
Sure.
Just, you know. Any of these sounding familiar to you? Are you getting any familiar?
No, just the one in Pennsylvania.
Okay. All right. Do you feel like maybe that's where you came from?
Maybe.
Dumpster fire.
I am a bit of a dumpster fire.
Okay. All right. You know, I thought maybe that sounded a little... Okay. And then our last one is the Baba Gurgur. Oh, I don't
know that one. Okay. This one sounds like me. Let's see. Before I commit.
This is in Iraq. So an oil field near Kirkuk, Iraq, first discovered in 1927, and it has an eternal fire burning in the middle of the field. And the name Baba Gurgur, I really hope I'm saying it right, roughly translates to Father of Fires in Kurdish. The site holds spiritual significance for many locals, probably because of you. And some believe that the fire has been burning for 4,000 years. One of the beliefs is that it is the fiery furnace referenced in the Old Testament book of Daniel. Which I don't know if you remember.
Is that the one where they walked in and walked back out?
Yeah, it's the one with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
Otherwise known from the popular VeggieTales story, Rakshak and Benny. That's how I remember it. They were thrown into a fiery furnace, you know,
and they walked out.
King Nebuchadnezzar, and they were fine. And according to Plutarch, it is the site where Alexander the Great witnessed, quote, fire issues in continuous streams like a spring of water out of a cleft in the earth. Although I feel like that could be anywhere now, because I'm now convinced that like fire just comes out of the earth anywhere. So in conclusion, the legend of the well to hell in Siberia may not be true, but there are plenty of real eternal fires all around us and underneath us, just waiting for an earthquake to release them so that they can burn forever. So take your pick of wherever you feel like hell might be. Just open up the earth. It's down there, probably. Or wherever you think Katy came from.
Yeah, cast your vote. Which one of those spawned me?
Exactly.
Or the demon that inhabits my meat suit.
I'm going for Pennsylvania trash fire.
I think so. Fire. Like, I think, you know, a dumpster fire is my spirit animal kind of a thing.
It feels eternally burning hellfire fueled from a dumpster fire.
Yeah, that is me.
That's
to a T.
That's giving good vibes. So, anyways, that's the well to hell.
Well, if you want to see the cool infographic and the not at all intimidating sealed picture of the tiny hole in the ground,
intimidating.
You can check out our Instagram and Facebook at the Tales We Tell podcast if you want to see photos. But don't do the social media. Check out our website at thetales-we-tell-podcast.com. If you want to support us and get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, check out our Redbubble store. Search The Tales We Tell. We've got lots of different logos, and you can put that shit on anything. And if you want to support us but don't need the stuff, become patrons at patreon.com. Search The Tales We Tell at the $5 level. You get commercial-free listening, early access, love notes, sometimes bonus content, and for all of our billionaire CEOs, we have the special $10,000 level that you can just... you know, more money to burn because you won't miss it.
Yeah, if you're looking for a guilt-free way to assuage your conscience.
Yeah.
You know, my car's about to die. Katy's having a bad week. Listen, send that money our way. We'll We'll be good.
We'll put it to good use.
We'll take care of it. Don't worry.
Take real good care of it.
Don't you worry about that.
Alrighty. Well.
That it? Did we cover them all?
We got it.
Oh, okay, great.
Good.
All right,
Even the new Patreon billionaire CEO level.
Oh, well, I hope everyone has a much better week than what we're ending here with. And take care of yourselves. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.